I'm going to use this drawing that I did for another video yesterday as a guinea pig for our 10-minute marker transformation. But first, I just want to add a few details that I didn't do when it was a line drawing, but I think are helpful to do if we're going to transform how it looks now with marker. And if you want to have a go yourself transforming this line drawing with marker, I'm going to post the line drawing on my channel community page so you can get it from there. So now we start to transform this simple line drawing in a very short space of time using tone from my marker pens. These are Copic sketch markers. I used neutral grey colour, and in this drawing I'm going to be using from N0, N for neutral grey, to N5, which are from the lightest tonal value 0 to 5, but there are another 5 tones after that. So I put my colour chart next to me as I think of it, and that can help me choose the best pen to use, the best value to apply faster. But generally the principle is go light because we can always add a darker tone over the top. Now this is meant to be a fast gestural application of tone to go with the fast gestural line drawing that I did yesterday. And so I'm using N0 to do really just a wash of these walls, and then an N1 to pick out a few other points. And now I'm using an N2 from memory down the sides of the tower. It's all about providing contrast. That's how we read tone. We read values in relation to the values around it. And so because of that, it's good to be working in some ways overall at the same time, not to start in one small part, because how we will read a tone does depend on the tones around it. So I need to have a sense of the lightest and darkest areas, but it is also good to have strong contrast between adjacent areas because that provides a lot of visual stimulation. It creates what I think of as visual drama. And so we use our tonal values to clarify and separate objects and to highlight objects. So sometimes we even need to manipulate the values that we have in our reference or in front of us to highlight even more something that will make our drawing look better. I think I'm using an N4 from memory under the awning there, under the eaves of the roof. And now I'm pretty sure an N4, or it could be a 3 on the top here. It's probably a 3, I'm guessing. I know I used an N2 for the very top pointy spire part. But really what we're doing is we're just going up or down from whatever colour, whatever tonal value we're using at that point. And I reinforce the shadows that I drew with line. I now reinforce them with marker tone, which I think is a really nice technique to do, and I think it works really well. And what we're trying to do is really to breathe 3 dimensions into this line drawing. I didn't intend to apply tone to it when I drew it, so I didn't leave it in my mind unfinished. I didn't particularly use any hatching with it because I felt that would actually confuse things and put too many lines into the scene, which already had a lot of lines in it just to outline everything. So I'm making the figures very dark. It's good to have very dark figures if they're in the foreground because darker values do come forward and lighter values tend to sit further back. So it's good to reserve our strongest values for somewhere down the front, somewhere close. Because if we bring these closer parts forward, that automatically pushes further back the other parts of our scene. So manipulating value is also an important way of creating a sense of depth. But as we work over the whole thing, we're having to keep everything relative. And it's not long before you'll see me, I'm pretty sure, darken those overhanging eaves on the left and right hand sides when I decided that they could be needed in fact to be a stronger, darker value compared to some of the other ones that I had in the scene. And here I go now. Yep, here I go with a 4, and then I think I even put a touch of 5 in parts of it as well. And you can see how now that really just snaps that section into a more interesting and engaging scene. It also brings those shadowed areas closer towards us, which again has the sense of pushing the tower back into its, if you like, proper place in the scene. So you are seeing this in real time. This took me just under 10 minutes to do the actual marker work. So it's a great technique to use on location. We can very quickly transform a relatively simple line drawing into something that looks so more engaging and three-dimensional. And it just gives us that many more elements that we can play with. I can really recommend, especially if you like location sketching, to have some of these markers on hand. You really don't need to have too many. Half a dozen will give you the range that I've got here. So that can work well. As I said, these are Copic markers which can be refilled. So that does offset some of the relatively high startup price for this particular brand. And I'm using the brush end because it has a little bit of flexibility in it, and I find that's more helpful for me than the hardness of the chisel end. So now I'm really just picking out some of the details with this really dark, it's the N5. So that downpipe is the darkest value that I use in this scene. And this is where I am just picking up a range of markers, but I'm using darker ones than the tonal values that I've used already, just to strengthen contrast or create a stronger sense of form or of definition between different parts. As is often the case in art, it is important to know when to stop, and I think particularly, in fact, in a fast work, it is important just to stop every now and then and have a bit of a look from slightly further back, even if it's just 6 inches further back, and think, is this working the way I want? Do I need to make some things less obvious, some things more obvious? And that's pretty much what I'm doing at the moment. I just realised I'd left out that little top part of the base of the spire there, so I got my N2 and fixed that up. And you can see the pace is slowing down as I'm thinking more and more now, is there anything else that needs doing? And I was aware of the clock. I was wanting to keep this under 10 minutes. And a little bit of work on the roadway and a few streaks of shadows and colour across horizontally, which just gives a stronger foundation for the scene. But you can, as you saw, I did add some line to yesterday's drawing, because what I thought worked best as a line drawing, I felt wasn't quite adequate line work if I was going to use tone. I wanted a little more outline that I could bring out then with tone. So again, I'm just heightening some of the contrast with a darker value in the windows on the left-hand side. And then these ground story entrance details that were left deliberately fairly undone in the line drawing become more significant now, because they're darker areas that we can apply contrast into. So I'm taking advantage of the speed with which we can create really nice effects with dark spaces using the markers. Again, just wondering what's happening here, having a look. And now there's just really this downpipe. And I think that's pretty well it. And don't forget, if you want to have a go applying tone yourself, you can print off a copy of this line drawing from my channel community page. Why not give it a go? G'day, I'm Stephen Travers. Look, I hope you found this transformation of a line drawing in just 10 minutes really challenging and perhaps inspiring to have a go yourself. But look, whatever you draw and however you're drawing it, make sure you have fun. And I'll see you next time. Bye.